Hey y'all, thanks for coming back to watch another video. This video we're going to do a little bow shooting and I'm going to tell a story at the same time. So we'll give it a try. I'll probably miss a lot because I'll be talking a lot. But if you can stick through the intro, we'll get this story going. Let's go.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home, where I belong.
Alright, thanks everybody for sticking through the intro. So this story is going to be about a time I went bow hunting with my wife's cousin. So I got to go get my glove. So anyways, it was about 4:30 in the morning and we're headed down the highway. We're running about 65 and we see some deer off on the shoulder, right in the middle of the 4-lane. Well, I didn't think nothing of it. You know, most time they'll just stand in the median until traffic goes by. We was the only vehicle on the highway right there. I get right up on them deer. This one doe, she gets right by the white line. I'm thinking, man, surely she's not going to step out in the highway. Sure enough, she steps out in the highway right when I was passing her. So, needless to say, her head met my headlight. Ooh, that one was way off. So, I hit the brakes. She goes spinning down the highway. I'm like, oh man, you know, we're jamming out on the Fred Bear song from Ted Nugent. I'm thinking, oh man, there goes my radiator and everything, you know. I'm screwed. We're broke down now. We're not going to be able to hunt. Well, I pull over. I look back, that doe, she's smoked. She's laying on the side of the road. She's done. There's nothing we can do about that. Now, I did happen to see right after I hit her, her head hit the headlight, smashed my fender back just a little bit, not enough to kink my door, but she started spinning. And her back leg, I'm pretty sure, hit right at my back fender behind the wheel in front of the bumper. Well, that tore the corner of my bumper off, which was not that bad. It was plastic anyways. It's an Isuzu Trooper, so it had the plastic corner protectors on the bumper. So anyways, I decide the Trooper's not hurt. Only thing it did was bust the glass on the headlight. The headlight's actually still working. Missed that one bad. So after assessing the situation, the Trooper's really not in that bad of shape. Mostly cosmetic. I decide I'm going back and getting that deer. You know what I mean? She doesn't cost me some money. I'm going to go get her. Well, the thing is, my insurance didn't cover that kind of accident. So I didn't want to report it to turn into my insurance, you know. So I was like, you know, I'll just worry about that later. So I get out and I grab this doe and I throw her right on top of the trooper. I grabbed a ratchet strap and I ratchet strapped her right to the top of my trooper. And we drove on into town. And when we got to town, there's check-in stations. Now back then, you had to actually go to a checking station and check your deer in. And they'd weigh it and all that good stuff. Well, this is how it was. And they give you a plastic tag and they'd have you take that tag and put it around the deer's leg, lock it in, right? So we stopped at the checking station and I decided to go ahead and check this deer. So I checked it. And the old gal said, "Man, you guys got one pretty early." I said, "Yeah." Smoked it with the trooper. She said, "You know, you don't have to tag that. You can call the sheriff and they will call the game warden. They'll give you a tag and the game warden will just give that to you, or they'll give you a new tag." I was like, "Well, don't really want to get my insurance company involved, you know." She's like, "Oh, I understand. And I'm trying to go hunting, so I'm not trying to have to fill out police reports and talk to a game warden and all that good jazz. I just want to go hunting." And so she tags her. We get in the trooper and we head on down the road. Now, the place we're going hunting was only about 5 miles from where we checked that deer in. And we get out. I get the deer down. I hang the deer up real quick. We gut her out. And then I wrap the deer in one of them meat bags, you know, because it was kind of warm that day. And I didn't want anything to happen to that deer, you know, maggot wise. And we only hunted a few hours. And I seen some deer, but nothing really got into range. Nothing looked good for a shot. So I didn't shoot anything. And plus, I figured I already had one in the tree and it was warm. I didn't want to have to cut up 2 deer on a warm day. I just didn't want to mess with that. So I decided, let's go. Let's get back to the house because it's a little over an hour drive. So we get the deer down. We stop at the checking station, which was a gas station. I buy some ice. We open that bag. We pack that deer full of ice. We head back. So we get back to my house. First thing I do is get that deer out and hang it in a tree right there in the trailer hood. Hung her up. And by the time I got that deer hung up and then got my knives and got everything I needed to skin it and cut it up, got outside, in other words, about 10 or 15 minutes, there was a game warden at my house. Yep. Somebody had called a game warden on me before that old deer even quit dripping blood. She was still hanging and dripping. So game warden, he comes up. He asked me, who I was, where did I get the deer, how did I get it. I'm not even aiming. I'm literally looking at the whole target. So anyways, he's asking me about the deer. And so I told him a story about going down the highway and hitting that deer with my trooper. And he said, all right, can you show me where you hit it? Yeah. I said, you bet. I'll show you where I hit it. So we go to the front of my trooper. My fender's freshly caved in. Now, it was weird, but the headlight, it's not like the headlights now, you guys, where the bulb goes in and out. It was one full light, just like the kind you screw into your light socket. So if you break it, they normally won't work. But this headlight worked the whole time. I showed it to him, and there's blood and hair, and it's all over the front of my trooper, you know. Then I showed him where her hoof hit the back bumper. So he takes a look at everything, and then he's going to go look at the deer a little bit better now. So he goes up to the deer, and he lifts her head up, and there's glass in her eyeball. I mean, she's obviously been hit by a vehicle. He says, you know, he said, you're the only person I know that would hit a deer with their car and then tag it and just buy another tag. I said, well, like I told the lady at the check-in station, I was going hunting. I didn't feel like spending an hour with the sheriff and the game warden. It was a $5 tag. The damage is done. My insurance isn't going to cover it, so what's the point? He said, I get it. So, whoa, that one was way off. So he tells me to have a good day, and I said, well, hold on a second. I said, did the person who called me in, did they call anonymous, or, you know, can you tell me who called me in? He said, no, sir, I can't tell you. I said, man. I said, the trailer hood has hood rats. He said, oh, yeah. He said, you know, this really aggravates me. He said, because all they seen was a deer, didn't even come ask you or talk to you about it. He said, they do live right here in this trailer park. He said, but that's all I can tell you. I was like, well, that's fine. I got a feeling I know who it was, which I really didn't. I didn't have a clue, but I didn't care neither because I knew that I'd done everything legal. I could have got that deer for free. But you guys know they would have ate up at least an hour of my time. And it would have been daylight. And you're probably like, well, you didn't kill a deer anyways, but it didn't matter. You never know. Every minute counts. But the moral of the story is you can't sweat the little stuff. Smashed my headlight, dented my fender in, which is still dented. I took that factory headlight out. I went and bought the biggest square headlight I could find at Walmart, stuck it in there, wired it in so it wouldn't fall out, rewired the plug in, boom, and it's still like that. And for the turn signal, I took the little yellow light off of a boat trailer, and I screwed it right into the fender, and I wired it up for a turn signal. And it's still like that. The old trooper, I blowed the motor up at 360,000 miles, spun a bearing. It's been in the shop, going to get rebuilt for the last 4 years, and that's not an exaggeration, for real. But I'm not going to sweat that neither. The way I see it, there's got to be a reason why it's taking them so long. It's none of my business. They're professionals. They'll get it done eventually. I just give it to God. And I figure when he's ready for me to get my trooper, they'll call me. That's just how I'm going to look at it. I'm not going to see it any other way. Because if I see it any other way, it's just going to bring stress and anxiety. And I ain't wanting no part of that. That's the devil's work. But anyways, I fixed that old trooper up good enough it would pass inspection, and I kept driving it. So you know what that means? I squatched it. I squatched that problem. Didn't let it stop me one bit. And I got up and I went bow hunting again, and I kept on keeping on. And back then I wasn't near as in touch with God as I am now. I'm really glad I am now, because he gives me a lot of strength to overcome everyday struggles. So if you're out there and you're having a hard time and you're thinking that it's the end, I just can't take it no more, I just can't do it, I want you to know that you can do it. I promise you, you can. I know you can. I know for a fact that no matter what you're thinking, one prayer will take that away. You don't want to pray? You can call 988. If you're a veteran, you just press 1. Right after you do it, just press 1. And they're going to hook you up. They're going to get you the help you need. I just hit my arm. That hurt. So don't ever give up. Call a friend. Call a family member. Talk to your preacher. Say a prayer. Whatever it takes to give you that little boost, it's out there. And there's 1,000 million people out there ready to help. So don't sweat the little stuff. Squatch it when it comes up. And keep on keeping on. So I hope everybody out there has a blessed day. Peace.